When a woman acts like she's not interested, do you actually know what she's hiding? Because on the surface, it looks like disinterest, and that's exactly where most men get it wrong. Some of the strongest attraction signals don't show up as obvious flirting. They show up as resistance, inconsistency, and little moments that feel cold until you understand what's really happening underneath. If you misread those moments, you walk away from someone who was hoping you'd stay calm, read the room, and lead with confidence, especially when she suddenly pulls back, right after the two of you had real chemistry. We're going to come back to that one, because that specific moment, that's where most men lose her completely. 1. She acts different with you than she does with everyone else. Have you ever noticed she seems totally relaxed around other guys, but slightly sharper, quieter, or more self-conscious around you? Most men assume that means she's uncomfortable, or just not feeling it. That's the easy read. But here's the thing. Indifference is usually consistent. Real attraction often isn't. When a woman genuinely doesn't care, her nervous system stays settled. When she does care, dopamine, adrenaline, and self-monitoring all kick in. Suddenly, she's aware of how she sounds, how she looks, how she's coming across, specifically to you. That internal pressure changes behavior fast. So when she feels a little more guarded, a little more careful, a little harder to read around you specifically, that doesn't automatically mean rejection. Sometimes it means your presence carries weight. You're not getting the casual version of her. You're getting the version that knows this interaction matters. 2. She teases you while pretending she's unimpressed. She rolls her eyes, challenges you, acts like she's not buying your charm, but keeps the conversation going anyway. A lot of men take that at face value and think they're getting shut down. They hear resistance and assume disinterest. Here's what most people don't realize. Playful contradiction is one of the oldest attraction patterns there is. If she's investing energy, teasing you, tracking your reactions, trying to see whether you'll fold, get defensive, or stay grounded, she's already engaged. Researchers studying flirtation patterns have repeatedly found that playful opposition often sits right beside attraction because it creates tension, tests confidence, and keeps emotional arousal high. That means her attitude isn't always a wall. Sometimes it's an invitation. She's not rewarding you with easy approval, because easy approval gives her no information about who you are. She wants to see if you can stay composed, witty, and unbothered without becoming arrogant. That's not indifference, that's interest wearing armor. 3. She takes forever to reply, but never really disappears. She leaves your message sitting for hours, maybe a full day, then pops back up and restarts the energy like nothing happened. Most men see delayed replies and think the answer is obvious. If she liked you, she'd respond instantly. That sounds logical, but attraction in real life rarely moves that cleanly. Here's something that might surprise you. People delay when they care more than they want to show. Impression management is real. When someone feels attraction, they often become more strategic, not less. They reread messages, overthink tone, and avoid looking too available because they don't want to lose leverage or reveal too much too soon. Now, that doesn't mean every slow reply is a hidden love story. If she's dry, inconsistent, and never helps move things forward, let it go. But if she replies late and still asks questions, reopens threads, sends thoughtful messages, or finds a reason to keep talking, the delay isn't the signal. The investment is. She's still in it. She just doesn't want you to know how much. Yet. And real quick, if you care about understanding female behavior without becoming needy or confused by every mixed signal, hit that subscribe button right now. Every week I break down this stuff so you can move with self-respect, read situations better, and stop fumbling real opportunities. All right, let's keep going. 4. Her friends already know who you are. You meet her friends for the first time, and instantly it feels like they've been briefed on you before you even opened your mouth. Most men brush that off as coincidence. Think maybe they're reading too much into it. Think about that for a second. Women talk about the men they're emotionally tracking. If her friends smirk, watch the interaction too closely, drop little hints, or seem strangely familiar with details about you. Your name has already entered conversations you weren't part of. Social processing is part of how many women test attraction. They run it through trusted people before they fully show their hand. And people don't do background processing for someone they feel nothing about. If her circle knows your job, your vibe, your habits, or the story of how you two met, you've already taken up mental real estate. She may act indifferent in front of you, but behind the scenes, you're not a neutral figure, you're a topic. 5. She says she's busy, then offers another window. Most men hear I'm busy and stop at the first layer. Fair enough. Sometimes busy really does mean no, but that's not the whole picture. That's not rejection. That's hesitation with the door left open. If she declines and then suggests another day, mentions when she's free, or asks what you're doing later in the week, she's making a distinction. She's not rejecting you. She's managing timing, pressure, or uncertainty while keeping the connection alive. Watch the difference. I can't Friday, but maybe Sunday. That's movement. This week's crazy, but next one's better. Movement. Behavioral intent matters more than perfect enthusiasm. A woman who wants out closes loops. A woman who wants in leaves one open on purpose. What she's protecting isn't always her schedule. Sometimes it's her emotional safety, while she decides how much to give you. 6. The energy changed. Right after it got good, you had a moment with her where everything clicked. The tension was obvious. The conversation flowed. Something real happened between you two. And then, the next day, she felt harder to reach. Most men take that shift at face value. They assume the good moment didn't mean as much as they thought, that they imagined the chemistry completely. But that reading is almost always too shallow. Strong tension doesn't always make a woman lean in right away. Sometimes it makes her change tempo. A good interaction can create more internal movement than she wants to show. And the contrast, that's the tell. If she was warm, present, engaged, and then suddenly more measured after a moment that carried real weight, that shift means something. Not because distance automatically equals attraction. It doesn't. But because emotional neutrality rarely creates that kind of abrupt change in rhythm. Don't focus only on the drop in warmth. Focus on the sequence. Something landed, and then something tightened. Most men only notice the second part and miss what the second part is reacting to. We'll come back to what to actually do in that moment, because that's the one that matters most. 7. She remembers small things about you she shouldn't. She brings up something tiny you mentioned once and never repeated. Most men don't clock how revealing that is. They think she just has a good memory. But memory follows attention. When someone is emotionally neutral, most details pass right through. When attraction is involved, salience changes. The brain tags specific information more strongly because that person has become important. That's why she remembers your random coffee order, the place you said you wanted to visit, the name of your brother, the story you told in passing 2 weeks ago. That isn't casual listening. That's selective focus. Your words stayed with her because you stayed with her. And women who are trying not to reveal interest, they often let it slip through recall before they let it slip through affection. She may never say, I like you, but when she remembers the little things, she's telling you that you've been living in her mind when you weren't even in the room. 8. She creates reasons to talk that aren't really reasons. A meme, a question she could have asked anyone, a tiny update that didn't need to be sent. Men often dismiss this because the topic looks random, but the content is rarely the point. The point is contact. In interpersonal psychology, people often use low-risk bids for connection when they want proximity without obvious exposure. It gives them a reason to reach out while preserving plausible deniability. That's why the message itself can feel small, while the meaning behind it is not. She's not always texting because the subject matters. Sometimes she's texting because you matter, and this is the safest way to reopen the line. She wants your attention without having to openly ask for it. That's not random, that's controlled interest. 9. She lightly shuts down other women around you. Her energy shifts the second another woman starts paying attention to you. Most men miss this because they're waiting for a direct confession, and jealousy almost never arrives that cleanly. It shows up in micro behavior, a tighter tone, a sudden interruption, a dismissive comment, her stepping back, watching more closely. Research into mate guarding behavior shows that attraction often reveals itself through subtle territorial responses, long before it shows up as explicit desire. Here's the thing: indifference doesn't defend territory. If she truly doesn't care, another woman's attention to you won't register with emotional force. But if it does register, If it changes her rhythm, if she starts recalibrating, then your value in her eyes just got exposed by the situation itself. 10. She asks about your love life, then acts like she doesn't care. Most men answer the question and move on. They assume she's just making conversation. But context matters. When a woman asks who you're seeing, whether you're talking to someone, or what kind of woman you usually go for, she's often gathering position. She wants to know where she stands without having to place herself on the line. That's not idle curiosity, that's risk-managed interest. And when she asks it in a detached tone, that's usually part of the disguise. She doesn't want the question to expose her, so she wraps it in humor, distance, or mock indifference. But if she returns to the topic, listens closely to the answer, or subtly compares herself to the kind of woman you describe, the question wasn't neutral. She was measuring whether there's space for her in your world. 11. She keeps showing up where you are. After a while, it doesn't feel that random anymore. Repeated proximity is one of the clearest nonverbal signals of interest when it comes with pattern. Social scientists call part of this the mere exposure effect. Familiarity lowers tension, increases comfort, and creates more chances for emotional momentum to build. So if she keeps placing herself in your orbit, joining conversations you're in, lingering after everyone else leaves, conveniently appearing where she knows you'll be, pay attention to the pattern, not the excuse. She may never say, "I wanted to see you," but her feet keep telling the truth. People drift toward what they're drawn to. 12. She opens up, then immediately pulls back with a joke. She says something real, then laughs it off, changes the subject, acts like it meant nothing. Most men hear the joke and assume the serious moment wasn't real. That's the mistake. Emotional disclosure is one of the hardest things to fake casually. If she lets something personal out, even for a second, that moment mattered. The joke afterward is often a repair mechanism. It helps her regulate the exposure she just created. Someone can want closeness and still flinch the second closeness appears. So don't only listen to how she covers the moment. Listen to the fact that the moment happened at all. The truth often comes out first. The defense comes right after. When a woman is trying not to look too invested, she'll reveal herself and then immediately hide behind humor. That doesn't erase the opening, it confirms it. 13. She touches you in ways that can be explained away. She brushes your arm, fixes your sleeve, taps you when she laughs, holds eye contact a half second too long, then acts completely normal. Touch is one of the fastest ways attraction leaks through, because the body often moves before the mouth gets permission. Watch the pattern. If she only touches you when there's a practical reason, it means nothing. But if she keeps finding almost reasons, adjusting lint that isn't there, leaning in when she didn't need to, letting the moment stay just a beat too long, those are rarely accidents. She's not fully claiming the desire, she's rehearsing it. 14. She gives you resistance, but never a clean exit. Even when she challenges you, delays, or pulls back, she never quite closes the door. Sometimes that is the right move, if the pattern is disrespect, confusion, or constant emotional chaos. Walk. But when the resistance comes with recurring investment, curiosity, re-entry, and a refusal to fully disconnect, you're usually not dealing with absence of interest. You're dealing with attraction mixed with caution. That's the deeper pattern running through all of this. A woman who feels nothing tends to simplify your life. A woman who feels something but doesn't want to show it complicates the signal while preserving the connection. She won't make it easy, but she also won't make it final. And men who understand that stop collapsing at the first sign of ambiguity and start reading the whole behavior instead of one isolated moment. 15. When she pulls back after real chemistry, that's the moment most men lose her. Remember that moment I mentioned at the very beginning? And the one in sign 6, where everything was good and then suddenly she felt distant the next day? This is it. This is what that was about. The tension was obvious. The conversation flowed. Something real clicked between you. And then she pulled back. Most men assume the chemistry was fake. It usually wasn't. Here's why this happens. The first reason is emotional exposure. Once a woman feels seen, excited, or slightly out of control, her self-protection system kicks in and tells her to slow the whole thing down. The second is social risk. She starts thinking about consequences, timing, reputation, and whether you're actually stable enough to trust. The third is fear of asymmetry. If she likes you more than she planned to, distance becomes a way to recover leverage. So when she pulls back after a strong moment, don't rush in and smother it. Don't demand clarity she isn't ready to give. And don't punish the retreat with wounded behavior. If the interest was real, what she needs in that moment is emotional steadiness. She needs to feel that attraction to you doesn't immediately become pressure from you. Because sometimes the pullback isn't her moving away from what she felt. It's her trying not to fall into it too fast. And if this video helped you see something you were misreading before, subscribe right now. I drop new videos every week on understanding attraction, behavior, and how to move through situations like this without losing yourself. See you in the next one.